Hey there, this is a quick introduction to the video that you're about to watch. You're about to see the full SpreeCast that I believe went for an hour 14 minutes and 43 seconds. Yeah, I just looked at it on the screen. We had a lot of people watching. We also had a bunch of people trying to watch, and I know that some people had issues getting on or they got kicked off and they couldn't see what was going on. And first off, apologies for that happening. I know how frustrating it can be to try to log in and watch and then not be able to do it. SpreeCast is still in beta, so they're working out the kinks there, and this was a good experiment for them to help them figure that out. So I apologize to anybody who had trouble getting on there, and if you did have trouble, we hope to have that fixed for the future. But you can watch the full SpreeCast now on here, right on YouTube, or you can head over to SpreeCast.com and look up the FroKnowsPhoto channel, and you can watch it over there as well. So yeah, enjoy, have fun, and we did give away a BlackRapid strap at the end and an AdoramaPix Photo Book. So let's get into the SpreeCast now. Thanks again to everybody who joined, and sorry for that little issue of some people not being able to watch. But we hope to do these again. We welcome all of your feedback, so please leave comments. If you watched or had trouble getting on, just give some feedback. What were you looking to see? What did you like? What didn't you like? Any feedback will definitely help us and help the guys over at SpreeCast figure out what they can do to make this service even better. So enjoy what you are about to watch. I think we're live. Jared Poland,
yeah.
FroKnowsPhoto.com, here with Adam Lerner. Adam, how are you?
I'm well. Good to be here.
And I want to welcome everybody to our first official SpreeCast. And this is going to be some fun. What's great about this whole SpreeCast thing, we'll get that stuff out of the way right away, is that we can bring you onto camera. You can ask your questions literally face-to-face with us. As long as you have a good camera, you're wearing clothes, and you've got audio that's working, we can bring you in. So let's, housekeeping real quick. You see that comment question blue box, that blue button, which pops out really well now in blue. If you want to ask a question or have a comment, please click that button, and that will submit a question that we can get up into our pending approval box and then drag it onto screen. And then basically start answering your questions. Sound all good, Ad?
Yep, that sounds just about right.
All right, so also we're going to be doing some giveaways. A little later, we're going to give away a BlackRapid RS-Sport because Miss Larray Labdell, she's gorgeous. She'll be on later. I mean, that's not why she's going to be on because she's gorgeous. She's going to be on because she's going to pick a winner for a BlackRapid strap. So we've got a fun way to do that. And then I was thinking, we'll either give away, we'll give you your option, some Fro t-shirts or an AdoramaPix book. But if you guys could use Facebook, Twitter, and Google Plus to let everybody know that you're watching this right now, we will randomly, before the end of this, select a winner. Yay, giveaways. Somebody's doing that. Did you do that, Adam?
That wasn't me.
That wasn't you. It must have been Colin, because we've got the SpreeCast guys on here helping us out today. So go ahead and tweet this out, put it on your Facebook, put it on Google+, and we will check through the stream at the bottom here and literally pick a random winner and let you guys decide if you want some, let's see, some I Shoot Raw shirts like this or an AdoramaPix Rapid Fire book. So yeah, where should we start, Ad? What? I took some notes here. Yeah, we got that one out of the way. We got that one out of the way. And that's about it. So it's been a while since we've done these live things.
Well, we could start talking about some gear. We could talk a little bit about shooting.
Well, you know what's interesting? We got a bunch of questions coming in. Colin, is there anything interesting in there that you want to throw on screen for us to when did you both start photography? Well, Ad, why don't you go ahead and start with that, and then I'll follow it up right after.
I think I started seriously shooting in college. That's when I decided that I really wanted to give it a go. And like you, I started shooting black and white film photography and doing my own processing and developing and all that kind of thing. So I kind of knew back then that it was something that I wanted to do. And same like you too, I started shooting bands. I started going to local venues and just kind of stealthily. And back then it was funny because bouncers would actually try to get your camera and take the film out of it. So I always had like extra rolls of film, like so that if that actually happened, I'd just kind of swap it out. So it's kind of funny now. Everybody's got their iPhone, just taking pictures all over the place. But when you had a camera at a venue, you were definitely breaking the rules.
Yeah, that's one thing I don't understand, that they're like, no flash photography. Or like, they don't let photographers take pictures, and then every person there has a stinking camera taking pictures. But I got my start at 13 years old. I was in junior high school, and I know I've said this before, but I was at a basketball game, junior high, like 7th, 8th grade, and I saw these girls taking photos of warm-ups, and I didn't think they were doing a good job. That's just me being honest. I didn't think they were doing a good job, so instead of going up to them being like, you're doing a bad job, I basically went home, asked my mom to borrow the point-and-shoot camera, my Fuji Discovery 2000 point-and-shoot film camera, and I went out and I started shooting, and I started to get really good stuff right off the bat because for some reason I had a good knack for anticipating the situation and capturing the image, so that was pretty cool. You know what? I got something. Why don't I just drag... Go ahead, Ad.
How did you know it was good?
How did I know what?
How did you know it was good? Like, what was it when you saw those first images? How did you know? Okay, you know what? I've got something here.
Well, it was the peak action. I was capturing the action, the photos that would... I wouldn't say that they matched like what you see in the newspaper or Sports Illustrated, but they seemed to be compelling. They seemed to have... Yeah, they just seem to be pretty cool.
Excellent, cool.
How do you manage your time? How much time do you spend photographing, and how much do you do? All right. How much time do you spend on the net getting your content out there? This is an unbelievably timely question, as Adam has been listening to me for the past couple days discussing this exact point.
Yep.
It's. Let me. Hey, Colin, can you throw up the comment question thing that just pops up on the screen while I answer this? That just says, "Hey, push the blue button, ask the question," so that people can start to see that and they'll come into the pending chat. Thank you. Yeah, manage time. It's very interesting. We're in the midst of not reworking what's going on the site. As you know, the site is like Fro 2.0 now. It's been revamped because it's really meant to get people coming to the site that are new and be able to find everything that they're looking for right there on the homepage. So my time right now has been spent primarily working content, making content, editing content, uploading it, getting new readers, getting the fan base excited, and going from there. And what gets me excited is shooting. And I haven't been able to do as much shooting as I want to, but that's all about to change because I will be setting aside many days a week now to start to shoot as much as possible and create more content. I think what people are going to like and what I like doing is I like going on photo shoots and I like having I like the video camera running while I'm taking pictures so I can talk to the camera, interact with the readers or interact with the subjects and just shoot. And I think you guys can learn so much from that. And to me, it's just fun. Go ahead, Ad. You got anything to add?
I think that time management is a huge deal, and it's very easy to get extremely backed up because when you're out shooting, it's kind of like a performance. It's like a band, that's doing their show. It's like you don't see the hours of rehearsals and practices and songwriting. You just see that 40-minute or hour-and-a-half show, and I think it's the same thing for here. It's like before we go out to shoot, we have all kinds of preparation we do. We try to pre-visualize. We try to think about what gear we're going to need. We try to think about settings. We even might try to visit the site just to get a sense of what we're doing. We think about the subjects that we're going to be working with. Then we do the shoot, and then we've got all the post to deal with, and that can add up quickly. If you're shooting on a regular interval, you can sometimes have hundreds or thousands of frames to deal with. So trying to deal with that, you have to set up some discipline so that you get up, you start editing your stuff. You have to think like, okay, if I've got this much time in my day, I'm going to have to allocate this much to developing business. I'm going to have to develop this much time to doing my editing. I'm going to have to go out there and shoot. I'm going to have to make sure that I'm posting content and managing all those things. And it's it's good to stay on top of it and develop some systems so that you don't feel overwhelmed. Because if you're overwhelmed, you're not going to be able to do any of them well. So I think both Jared and I have fairly good systems for keeping on top of our stuff.
Yeah, and that's true. My 5-minute portrait thing is very similar to that. But to what this question I just read, I'm sorry, to that, you don't know what I'm reading over here. Yeah, that's my 5-minute portrait thing is to go out and photograph and record it. And Adam's going to be doing some of that, I think, coming up. I'm going to help him because he's going to come down to here in Philly, and we're going to spend time just making lots and lots of flash videos and videos in general. Yep. And we'll get to that flash stuff in a minute or a little later on. But, you know, I love shooting. And when I go out and shoot, I also have this helmet camera thing behind me. I think it's called the Contour Cam. And I'm going to attempt to wear that around my head using the... it's got a headband, and so if I'm shooting a show, you're going to try to see exactly what I'm shooting while I'm shooting. So you're going to see what I'm looking at. It's going to be like my eyes. I think that's going to be fun if we can pull that off. You know, I want to pull somebody in here on video randomly. Well, not so randomly. They don't know I'm pulling them in yet, but I just dragged them over to see if this would work. And Keith, you're coming in, buddy. I hope you're ready. Nice strong backlight.
Hey, what's up?
Rule number one of being on the camera is don't
sorry,
have really strong backlight.
Yeah, maybe I should ask a question about lighting. Actually, maybe that is relevant. One of the things that I sort of struggle with is getting the right lighting. What would you recommend someone just to get the basics of lighting down, you know, in a really easy fashion?
With a flash or just daylight?
Actually, with a flash, because I just don't even want to use a flash because all my pictures just look terrible.
Adam, you want to throw in some information?
And I should say I'm an amateur, so I'm usually on the go, and I'm just trying to I'm at a wedding or something, I'm out with friends, and it never turns out.
So you've got a DSLR and you've got a flash?
Yep.
Okay. Well, ideally, what you want to do is you want to meter for your surroundings, for the ambient light. And oftentimes a really simple way to do that is just go into aperture priority and see, pick an aperture that you want to be shooting at, depending if you're shooting an individual or a group, whatever the case may be. See what kind of shutter speed you're getting there. Now, if you're under, 125th of a second, you're going to need to pump up those ISOs. But if you're getting to a point where you've got to pump up ISOs to a point where your camera is just crazy noisy, you're definitely going to need a flash. And if you're shooting moving subjects, you definitely want your shutter speed to be at a certain point, at least 250th, and Jared and I, we like to go 400th or 500th of a second to really stop that motion. But you shouldn't be afraid of your flash, because if you meter correctly for your ambient and you bring in a flash, you can always light your subject fairly nicely by keeping a fairly good balance there. And that's the idea, is that you want to be able to balance. Now, granted, when you're shooting a wedding and you're shooting in a pitch black room where the lights are really dim like that, it's a lot more difficult, and that's when your flash is really going to be necessary.
I got something.
Jared, please.
Very basics, just starting straight up, straight out. Put the flash on there and literally start at a shutter speed of like 1/5 of a second. Then work your way up, all the way up to 250th, where where your camera will sync at the highest sync rate, and just see the cause and effect of what's going on there. And that way you're going to get more comfortable. And that's something that I'm starting to do myself, because your shutter speed is going to control the ambient light. So what's going to happen is literally take like a water bottle or something and put it down on the table and back away and take a picture of it, and then watch what happens to your background. You're going to see it go from all the light is going to be back there to pitch black, but your subject's going to have it's going to be exposed properly. So just watch what happens, and then do the other thing. Play with your aperture and watch what happens as you change your aperture, because that's going to affect your exposure and how much light is being let in. So it's all going to change, and that's my basic way to break it down into layman's terms is pretty much cause and effect. Try it out yourself and just play with those numbers until you see what happens. And just seeing it is the best way to learn. Does that help, Keith?
Yeah, that's great. Thank you.
How about them Eagles, buddy?
It's an amazing season.
Amazing season. All right, Keith, we're gonna kick you on out of here for now. But thank you for jumping on. And remember, no more backlight when you come on video. Front light.
Yeah.
Just like me, I have a front light on today.
Yeah, but one final note: just don't be afraid of using flash. Everyone just thinks like, I get these emails all the time. It's like, people saying like, I've got a 2.8 lens and I want to buy a 1.4, and just trying to buy like a faster and faster lens, get away from using flash. And there's a lot of sacrifice that you're going to make with that. And you'd be amazed when you learn to just control your flash a little bit, how easy it can be.
Sure. Go ahead. You want to talk about what your best camera is, and then or should we just? I'll take this. Which is your best camera lens? This is for us. We shoot with D3Ss and whatnot. I personally like using my 14-24 as a lens, as one of my favorite lenses, and also the 70-200. But in general, you don't need this type of gear to do to get great images. You can get great images with anything.
Right. I would say my camera is probably my Rolleiflex, because of how incredibly sharp it is, and that 6x6 negative is just unbelievable. As far as the amount of information you're going to get on there. As far as DSLR goes, like you, I had a D700. I still do. It's a great camera, but that D3S is just amazing, and it works for me. And I could probably do everything and anything I'd ever need to do with that 24-70 2.8. I just kind of call it my moneymaker. Granted, the 14-24 is awesome, and the 70-200 is just ridiculous. But if you just had to buy one camera and lens, that would really do it.
Sounds good to me. How do you deal with crowds? If you want, you know what? Is there anybody? Why don't we, instead of just taking the questions, why don't we pop people in here with video?
Yeah, let's do it.
Let me see. Colin, do we have anybody approved that you want to throw in here on video randomly? And then we'll see if we can answer their questions and see what they've got to say. As long as they have their pants on. Mike Anderson is coming in. Mike's got he's got an I Shoot Raw shirt on, I see.
Heck yeah.
Where are you calling from?
Texas.
Oh, I thought your accent was foreign, and I was right. Oh. So what's going on down there in Texas? What could we help you with?
Well, unfortunately, it's not a very good day to shoot. It is raining cats and dogs. My question is, I have borrowed a Canon from a friend. I have a Nikon D3100, and we borrowed a Canon just as an extra camera so we can shoot with. I don't like Canon personally, but that's just me. And we've noticed from taking some of the pictures that it doesn't seem like the IS is as good as the VR.
Well,
because it's.
Go ahead. I'll let you finish that, and then I'll go into that.
Oh, well, it seems like just even the slightest bit of movement at all with the Canon is worse than with the Nikon.
It may just be what you're doing. I don't think that there's... A lot of people have said that the IS is better than the VR in the professional lenses. So, I would check to make sure that, one, the IS is on or the VR is on so that it's actually working. But no, I don't think there's one side or the other would be the reason why I would go with a Nikon or with a Canon. Just know that the VR is very good in the pro lenses. The IS is extremely good in the Canon lenses. The things to focus on if you're looking to purchase your first camera. Are you looking to get your first camera?
Well, I have the D3100, and that's what we typically use. We're looking to upgrade after the first of the year. With income tax, and we can afford something a lot better. Mostly looking into getting better glass, just because I'm really satisfied with the 3100. I think it's a really great camera. We are looking into possibly getting maybe a 5100 or a 7000, but mostly looking into getting better glass.
Yeah, I would just focus in on the glass. I wouldn't replace your camera at this point, because why dump another $800 into a body when you need to just build up the glass? And the recommendations are 35-1.8. Adam loves yelling about that lens. I yell about that lens all the time. What lenses do you have before I go into what you could get?
Oh, well, right now we just have the kit lens, 18-55. And I've definitely looked at both of the 35 and the 50 1.8s.
On DX, I think it's a no-brainer. I think you go with the 35 all day long. The 50 is a little too long. Go ahead, Ad.
Well, the 35-1.8 is a 52 millimeter equivalent on like a full frame, and that is a beautiful focal length because when you really open up the aperture on that, you can shoot beautiful portraits. The lens has incredible color rendition. It has beautiful contrast. It's incredibly tack sharp. It's really fast. It's super lightweight, and it's small. And the thing about shooting, with a fixed lens is that it really forces you to work even harder on your photography because, you're no longer zooming in and out, zooming in and out. You're actually moving closer to the subject. You're moving to the side of the subject. You're actually seeing things a lot better. So not only is that lens, an upgrade from what you've got, even though your kit lens is great, it actually probably and potentially will help improve your photography.
Yeah, at this point, we've gotten to about as good as we can get with going down to 3.5, and I definitely want to get a lot lower, a lot crisper pictures.
Sure. All right. Yeah. So go ahead. Mike, thank you for joining us. We'll continue talking on, and we'll get some other people in here. But glass. Just the more glass you have, the better off you're going to be. Don't go jumping to the next system quite yet.
All
right. We'll see you.
Thanks, guys.
You're welcome. Thank you. Sure. All right. So yeah, that's the thing to always remember as a beginner or even as a pro is that you got to invest in the glass. Because bodies go every 2, 3, 4 years. They're gone. But glass will last you 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years. I mean, the 85-1.4 that I have was made in the 90s, like late 90s. I think it was 99 or something when that lens is from. And that is a superb lens. And still, it's actually worth more money today than when I bought it because it's just prices went up.
Yep. Yeah, glass is a commodity. I mean, it's one of those things that, you invest right in the glass and you'll never regret it. And when you do decide to upgrade, if you do, you'll get your money out of it.
That is true. All right, you want to throw somebody else in here for us and we'll keep going on? And Colin, if you see Lorraine Lobdell pop into here, just approve her and let me know that she's there so that we can bring her on to talk about that BlackRapid and pick a winner at some point. Yeah. So what other notes do I have written down here? General photography. Yeah, we talked about flash photography a little bit, and we can talk a little more. I mean, flash photography has been my, we'll say, Achilles heel for a long time, and that's off-camera flash photography with speed lights, not studio. Well, I haven't had a problem with studio stuff because I did studio for a long time in school, and I also did it after school. I have my strobe setups, I have my soft boxes, I have all that stuff. To me, that's easy. It's just moving stuff around. Now it's just doing it and jumping into the game, doing off-camera with speed lights. And that's Adam. You're loving doing that now, right?
Yeah, I mean, for me, I think I was in a similar place a few years ago where I really. I would put a flash on there if I was shooting an event or shooting a wedding or something. But, it got to the point where I said, I really need to know this better. And I just kind of forced myself to learn it. And I'm still learning it. I mean, it's incredibly complex. There's so many variables. But I think I've gotten to a point now where I've got a fairly robust yet easy to manage setup. And, this is one thing that we've talked about is like learning your gear in that I've kept my gear fairly simple. I don't have all different kinds of things that I'm constantly introducing as variables, and I've really tried to learn that as best as I can. But it's just a matter of understanding the different zones of light and what you want to do with them. If you want, to have something really, heavily lit, or you want something really moody, if you want the background in focus, if you want the background out of focus, if you want the ambient light to be in your frame or not. There's a lot of different things, and when you start understanding the different zones of light and how you can manage and manipulate them, I think the flash photography starts to make a lot more sense.
Yep. All right, let me just see who's here on video and I can grab and put into here. Or is this just a question? I think these are just questions. I got to find the people on video. Oh, here comes a person. We got Frank. Frank, what's going on?
How you guys doing today?
We're good. Where are you calling from? I'm going to venture to say East Coast around New York.
Well, I'm from New York, but I'm currently in Chicago.
Okay, okay, good. What's going on? What's your question?
I'm an insurance adjuster, and I typically look at 3 to 5 houses a day. So I used to have a little Lumix point and shoot, and I upgraded to the D3100 about 4 weeks ago. And let me tell you, you guys, your site is amazing. It's helped me tremendously.
Thank you.
I'm looking for, I had the kit lenses, the kit lens, and I have a 55 to 300 in case I can't get on tall buildings or whatever and I need to zoom in. I'm too busy to be changing lenses, so I was looking at like an 18 to 270. I need something that is more versatile for what I'm doing, and I don't want to use flash as much as I can because I can take 300 photos in a day.
Okay, first things first. You're probably not going to be really happy. I'll just be straight up honest. You probably won't be happy with an 18 to 270. It's not going to do much more other than give you the wider 18 to 270, and you won't have to change lenses. Now, changing lenses is simple. It doesn't take long at all. The reason that we don't have one zoom that does everything is because the quality of that glass tends to be lower as you get the mega zoom, so you lose light. Where, with your 55 to 300, when you're out at 300, it's a 5.6 aperture.
Right.
Basically, you're losing light. You're not letting enough light in. With that 270, it may be out at 6.3, so you lose even more light. The best recommendation for you, because you said you don't want to use flash, is something like, especially for shooting houses, you can look at something like a 11 to 16 Tokina or a 10 to 24 Nikon, and that's going to allow you to shoot indoors, fill the whole room, get a full room shot at 2.8. And that's just much better than using, say, an 18 to 55 at 3.5 or things like that.
18 to 200 VR. That's a pretty nice Nikkor lens. Pretty nice range.
It's not that I don't want to use flash. It's just that being cumbersome, moving around, drawing rooms, it's really difficult to get around in a house with such a big camera.
Try doing that with a D3, a 72-200, an attached flash, and a camera bag on your back all day. It's definitely something that probably puts you out of your element, but I think that with all the tools that you have, that you've already got that kit lens there, putting a flash on there would instantly resolve your issues with shooting indoors. You would have the light that you need without having to get some other lens. And like Jared said, that 18 to 270, you're not going to be happy with it. It's such a lateral maneuver that unless you shoot that 55 to 300 really super often, you're probably going to be shooting in the lower range most of the time, and just slapping a flash on there, or even using the the built-on flash. You probably get a lot more out of that than you might think.
The 18 to 55 kit lens is what I'm using mostly, and it is working out pretty well.
It's a great lens.
It's a good little lens, but if you want to step it up and you want to get something better, Sigma makes a 17 to 50 2.8 that's not that's very good because it's a 2.8 lens. Yes, it's a little bigger, but for walking around, it's not going to be much. It's not going to be much of a big deal to carry that thing around.
That's great.
That help
you guys
out?
for
Good.
all your help.
All right, you're welcome, Frank. Good luck, man.
Sneezed.
You sneezed? God bless you, Adam. Yeah, that's the thing with...
Sneeze. I muted.
Oh, you muted. Oh, it's still going to come through on the screen flow. But, with lenses, it seems like he's going around and these photos aren't for like National Geographics. They're not for the biggest, baddest production ever. But you still want to have good shots when you go out and shoot. And that 18 to 270, though those major ranges sound good, we've all made the mistake in buying a lens like that up front. And I did. One of my first zoom lenses was a 100 to 300 Canon, and I had no idea. Wow. Yeah, I had no idea what any of it meant. It was like a 4.5 to 5.6, and then I was talked in. Well, I thought a 2x converter would just extend my range infinitely, and what I didn't realize, I'm zoomed out to 300, and now I'm at f11 in bright daylight getting gray pictures because I didn't know why I'm losing light. I'm like, why am I losing light? Nobody ever explained to me, or at the time I didn't know any better, that when you put a 2x converter on something, your lens that was a 5.6 becomes an f8 next, and then an f11 because you lose 2 stops of light.
Yep.
So if anybody ever sees Lorraine Lobdell in here, just let me know so we can bring her on. Okay, so this question is, Jared, I'm using the Nikon D700. Would you recommend the 70-200 2.8 as a portrait lens? Absolutely. One of the greatest lenses you could use for taking portraits is a 70-200 and using it out at the further end. Adam, do you find yourself using that for portraits all the time?
Yeah, I do. I mean, I know that that's your go-to lens for doing portraits. And particularly when you're doing portraits that are more, I guess if you're doing headshot stuff or whatever. But it's a spectacular lens. I mean, there's a lot of other options, for the D700, beside the 70-200 2.8. But that is an incredibly versatile lens and great for portraits.
Yes, it is.
I love it.
I love that.
Actually, I had an 80-200 2.8. Which, when we were talking about older lenses, it was the 80-200 2.8, and it wasn't the push-pull. It was, and that was also a spectacular lens. I mean, not quite as good, but for the money, it was fantastic.
Yeah, it was a great lens back in the day, but now it doesn't have a focus motor, so it won't work on some of the lower-end Nikons. Jeremy, what's going on, man?
Hey, how's it going?
It's going. What are all those?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, what are all those orange books back there?
Commentaries, different field.
What's your question?
Commentaries on the Bible. I've been playing around with flash and lighting, and I have a Canon 580EX, and I have off cord or off flash, a cord for a flash to take it off the camera.
Yep.
And just a diffuser. But I'm looking into getting something like a softbox, or something that's cheap that you can put a remote flash in. Is there anything that you would recommend, or Adam, if you would recommend something?
Well, Jeremy, what is it that you want to shoot? Are you shooting portraits, or what's your objective here?
Probably
I would say
to shoot portraits, yeah.
I would say your best bet, the thing that you're going to find to be most versatile and easiest to kind of manage, from never really using modifiers, is an umbrella. An umbrella is an incredibly powerful tool. And I would also recommend getting an umbrella that had, a shoot-through umbrella, so that you could take off the black exterior, and you could also turn the umbrella around and use it as a shoot-through for a nice diffused light. You can get an umbrella for, I mean, they're super inexpensive. I mean, you get an umbrella and a stand and the umbrella, adapter, the whole deal for, well under $100. Just a matter of size. I mean, if you're going to be shooting just individuals as compared to shooting groups, I would recommend, regardless, kind of at least starting with a 36-inch or maybe 40-something inch umbrella, and going from there. I think softboxes are amazing. I think they're fantastic. I think you can get beautiful diffused light with a softbox, but I think it's a very much more specific thing. And if you're really new to shooting like this, I think you would probably have an easier time learning the umbrella and finding it more versatile. And
what's cool about the umbrella, a basic setup, and I know I was at Allen's last week, and there was like a $120 setup. It was a stand, a softbox, an umbrella was another $32, I think, for the umbrella. But you get a cold shoe. Basically, the cold shoe goes on top of the light stand, and that allows you to attach your flash to it. And then through that, Adam, here, talk for 2 seconds. I'm actually going to go grab the thing. You talk. I'll be right back.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is that, when you're buying a softbox, you have to have an adapter to attach the flash to. You need potentially a speed ring or something to hold the softbox onto the umbrella. There's a lot more components involved, and softboxes also tend to be much more specific about where they're going to push the light. Whereas, I mean, think of light like with, if you have a garden hose, okay, and you just turn on the garden hose and you let the water pour out, okay, you get kind of like just a nice kind of, thick, stream of water, let's say. Now you put your thumb over the end of the garden hose and you get this spray. And that's the same thing that you're going to be doing when you're putting an umbrella on. So you're taking the flash, and instead of having the flash direct that tight focus beam of light at your subject, by pushing the light onto that umbrella, it takes that light and it gives you a huge wash, this huge spray. And depending on the size of the umbrella and the distance of the umbrella, it depends on how close that spray of light is going to get onto your subject.
Yeah, okay.
I'm going to pop this thing out. Hold on, I want to show you this. Hold on. Without cutting my fingers and stuff, I'm using a knife. Whatever. I just literally just tore my pants. It was great. They got stuck on the bottom of the chair. I need some bonobos. Anybody use bonobos? How about that, Colin? I need some bonobos jeans. They won't rip on me, will they? All right, here we go. You see this right here?
Yeah.
This goes into the top portion of a light stand. This up here is the cold shoe. All right, because it's cold because it doesn't have any connectivity. You put your flash right into here. Then right here in the middle, we have a place for your umbrella. What was that, Ad?
Okay.
Well, he's got that cable that's going to go from his camera to his flash.
He can put the cable up here.
He puts the cable adapter on there, put the flash on that, and then the umbrella on there.
Yeah, and this is...
And then you've got to put...
I was thinking of doing a remote. I was thinking of doing like with a remote, like with a pocket wizard.
Yeah, you could do that too, but I mean, right now you've got, you know, depending on how long your cable is, you've got everything you need for like kind of a portrait setup.
Yeah, and this is made by a company called Westcott.
Yeah.
Westcott, yeah.
Westcott makes this. It's a perfect attachment, and this gets you started. You put a flash on it, you put the umbrella, and you're good to go.
Okay.
Cool.
All right. Thanks very much.
You're welcome. Thank you. All right, let's get a question from the room, Colin. If we could just throw a good question up here from that people are throwing in, and we'll talk about that, and then we'll get somebody else on camera. And Lorraine should be coming in soon. We're interrupting her beauty rest. Do you have any hints or tricks for street photography, as I'm going to Paris in 2 weeks? Well, one tip and trick is you try to be as discreet as possible. I mean, one of my favorite things when shooting with a longer lens for street photography is if somebody looks at you and they think you're shooting pictures of them, and you really are shooting pictures of them, if you divert your eyes somewhere else, or you just look past them like, oh, there's something going on behind you, le biais. That's my French for goal. I think that's goal in French from watching hockey. But that's what I do. It's like, just sit off to the side, observe what's going on, and if somebody thinks they're shooting a picture of you, just be like, nah, I was shooting something behind you. And I don't know any French, or I'd be using it right now. How about you, Adam? How about for shooting wider?
Well, look, there's a couple of things you can do. I mean, if you have like a prime lens, you know, like a 35, which I love for shooting street photography, it's pretty stealthy. It's not like having like a huge honking telephoto on there with a lens hood and all that other stuff. If you keep your gear relatively discreet, also, there's often times where you can kind of position yourself in a discreet way. You can kind of like just lean up against a post or the side of a building, and you know, if you see an area that you're like, you know what, there's some great stuff going on here, you can just kind of park yourself and kind of blend into the background. So you know, there's I would say keep your gear like small, keep it contained, keep it on the ready. You know, you want maybe a little bit of a faster shutter speed because you might be getting people moving around. You know, just don't be shy.
Yeah, and what I want to add to that too is observe a good location to stay in and stay there. Stay there for a while and see what goes on. Wait for the light to be right, because the light isn't always going to be right when you want it. So just see when the That's a perfect
idea. Like, for example, like let's say you were walking, you know, through a part of town in Paris, or you know, you saw this bridge, or you saw this one thing where like there were people, and you were like, man, the framing is awesome, but in this middle of the day, the light is so harsh. You know, go about your thing, and then like come back later in the day when like the shadows are longer and it's more golden light, and you know, you might find that you get, you know, much more interesting stuff.
Yeah, so I'll just add one more thing, and then we'll get to this next question. Is yeah, I mean, if you just camp yourself out somewhere and look for something, have a goal set for yourself that you want to capture, have something that you want to capture, and set out to do that. And then once you do get it right, then you can move on to the next thing. But, you know, don't try to go, hey, I want to get 5 different things. I got you, Ad. Yeah, I don't want to get 5 different things, and then you're jumping all around. think about it. And go ahead, Ed.
Okay, so Paris, open air markets, there's tons of them. There's food markets, there's flea markets. Those are amazing people watching places, great for doing street photography because people are so enamored in what they're purchasing and in their conversations that you can often capture candidates a lot closer than you think. Obviously the streets, the metro is going to be something really interesting. There's tons of museums where there's people, where there's people congregating in parks and things like that. You'll find a lot of great stuff. Jared.
And in this day and age, just be careful. If you see cops and stuff like that and they try to talk to you and ask you what you're doing, be straight up honest with exactly what you're doing because you don't want to look like you're going to do some wrong. And that's just a major thing. You have to be careful now when you're out there shooting. And if somebody asks you a question that is a cop or something like that, listen to them and talk to them. And if they tell you to move, then just get the hell out of there and move somewhere else because it's not worth the aggravation. Okay. Do you think photography is a natural born talent or acquired? I think it's a little bit of both sometimes. Sometimes you've got it and it takes some time to hone the skills. Other times it's something that you come to a little later on and you discover that you've got a knack for it, and then you work your way backwards and start to learn the basics and then you grow into it. So I think there are some people out there that just pick it up and get it. They just do. I mean, that's true in anything. There's naturals in just about anything that you can think of, like programmers and things like that. There's naturals out there. But yeah, it is something that you can acquire. But sometimes you could some people may go at it for 10 years and it just doesn't click. But, I think you can learn quite a bit and you can get much, much better just by trying.
And I think that if there is that raw talent there, that you have to follow it up with hard work. You can't just rely on the fact that you think you have some natural ability. You really need to work at it, and you'll find that your photography will definitely get a lot better.
Let me jump right on this other one. For concerts, which is more important, speed or quality? I am reading that. It does say quality, right? Oh, that's the type of speed?
Motor drive.
If you ever have to ask a question that revolves around quality versus anything else, it comes down to quality over everything else. Quality lenses, quality glass, quality people that you work with, quality clients that you shoot. It's all about quality. If you're just shooting speed, you can shoot for speed all day long, but then you don't have quality. So without quality in anything, it's not really worth doing it.
Agreed.
All right, next one. And let's see if Lorray ever showed up in here. Go ahead, Adam. You read it. I'm going to look for Lorray.
When should one buy new gear, upgrade gear? How does one get to know that it's the right time to do so? Well, you know what? It really depends on what you're shooting and what you intend to shoot, and if you're making money off of what you're shooting. If your gear is limiting what you're doing, okay, let's say you're shooting, sports, or you're shooting events, and you don't have a camera that has a fast frame rate, or you don't have a camera that has good low ISO abilities, then it might be time to start, thinking about upgrading your gear. But there are a lot of people out there that they just want the latest and greatest stuff. And look, if you can afford it, if you're Howard Stern and you can just walk into Adorama and spend $10,000, $20,000 to have, the latest pro gear, then what the heck? Then just do it, But you know what? Get to know your gear, get to know what it can do for you, and when you feel that you're at a point that your gear has kind of, like your level of shooting has kind of, exceeded your gear, then it might be time to be thinking about moving into something else. But I don't think it's really necessarily important to constantly be replacing your tools unless there's an actual need for it.
Well, and Adam, I know that we've discussed this before when you were going to shoot some things macro and you're like, should I rent it? Should I buy it? And it came down to, well, you're going to do this job more often and you might as well just have it in your arsenal so that you can use it for that and then everything else. So, Lorray, if you are in here,
renting the macro lens 5 times or 6 times, I was like, okay, this is ridiculous.
Sure.
But yeah, that's when it kind of presents itself as an obvious answer.
Yeah. I'll say, just if Lorray, you're in the room, just whenever you get here, if you're not here yet, or if you are here, just type in the chat box and we can bring you onto the video through that way. That sounded very Philly. Yeah, so I think you answered the upgrading the gear thing pretty well. And let's move on to, maybe we've got somebody to bring in onto the camera. We'll bring somebody in for this, and then get back to more questions.
Yeah.
This is interesting. It's going to be interesting to do more of these in the future and see how we can adapt, and then maybe hook up some external cameras in the future and do a whole photo shoot live on one of these and get people's questions and things like that. That would be pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, here. Well, before I get to Jonathan, I'll get to you in 1 second. I see this. Do you have any idea when the D4 will be out, and when do you think? Basically, in terms of rumors, I don't speculate anymore. When it's announced, then I'll worry about it at this point, because we could worry all day long about it, and I'm just gonna kind of shy away from any rumors anymore because it's all speculative. All right, Jonathan, what's up?
All right, good afternoon, Jared, Adam. First of all, I asked the question about speed quality, and I meant ISO speed, just putting that out there, like ISO handling, but that's beside the point. So I kind of have like a story question. So I shot a band. I'm in college right now, and I'm in college in Nashville, so there's bands everywhere, just all over the place.
Yep.
So I was walking to my apartment from math class one day, and there's a band sound checking, and I was like, "Hey, I'm John. I'm a photographer. You mind if I shoot your show?" And they were like, "Sure, but you kind of got to hurry because we're about to start," and that's how it goes. So I ran home, grabbed the first camera and lens available. Bad choice. I already understand that was a bad idea. It was a T1i and a Tamron 70-300 f4 to 5.6. You already talked about the mega zooms. We'll just move on. But at first I was getting really good shots because it was like the golden hour, like you say.
So it was outside?
Right. Yeah, it was an outside show. And so I was getting the really good shots, and then, the sun goes down, and, I just, not a great camera, not a great lens.
Yep.
You got to deal with it. So the question is, what should I have done different, aside from, grabbing other stuff? What could I have done different with what I had? Like, could I have jacked up my shutter speed and just tried to fix it in Lightroom, or should I have just... What?
No, I'm raising my hand because Adam's raising his hand. I want to go first. I'll just say this: when you're in a rush, in a hurry, relax. Even because taking that extra 12 seconds to get the right gear or to get the right when you're changing 100%. Lenses in the pit, you could do it really fast and miss and mess up your camera, or you could just relax and change it and then get back to shooting. So when it comes to shooting shows, basically, I'd rather push the ISO up higher to give myself a faster shutter speed than to have a lower shutter speed and get blurry images. I'd rather have noise, which I can turn into black and white anyway, versus blurry images. So if you need to bump it up higher to freeze the action, then that's what you do to freeze it. But for shooting concerts, you should probably be in manual because the lights are just going to mess with your settings too much. Go ahead, Adam.
All right. I learned a long time ago to always have my camera bag packed, ready to go, to have all my batteries charged, to have all my flashes ready to go, to have all my cards in there, to have my camera just ready to go. And typically, it's almost like a ritual now. As soon as I finish doing a shoot, I dump my cards, I plug in all my batteries, I clean all my gear, I pack my bag back up so that when I'm presented with an opportunity to shoot something, which oftentimes there's not a lot of time to prep, all I really got to do is just look in that bag and be like, it's all there, check, put it on my back, and go. And I think that's a good thing, particularly for you who obviously loves shooting. You obviously have a knack for shooting bands. You really want to get into this thing. And if you're the guy that's just known for just going out there, jumping into the pit or jumping into the venue and having the right gear and just doing it and being, keeping your head cool about it, bands will notice that and they'll have you do more and more work. So take the time, like Jared said. Even if you're feeling that rush, that extra 30 seconds or 2 minutes is totally worth it. And there's some photographers that when they're in the pit and they do want to change lenses, simple things like just keeping the little lens cap off of the back of the lens in your bag face down, just takes 2 seconds. You pop one lens off, pop one lens on. You're not fumbling with caps and all that kind of stuff. There's a lot of things you can do going forward to make your life a little bit easier.
Yep. Do you know where 12th and Porter is?
Question? Sorry?
12th and Porter, the bar, Nashville?
Oh, yeah. Yes.
They have one of the sickest lighting rigs you could ever have in a venue that is the smallest venue you could ever have. So start walking down there and see what bands are playing there, because they have a huge lighting rig down there. That's where I did the Sinai video. Hey, there's Lorraine Lobdell. Lorraine showed up. Can you guys bring her onto the video for me? All right, Jonathan, that help out?
Yes, very much. Thanks, Jared.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Adam.
Yeah, run down the 12th and Porter and get in there and try to shoot as many shows there as possible.
Yep.
Yes, sir.
Good lighting pictures.
Yeah. Cool.
Thanks.
All right, Greg or Colin, can you throw Lorraine up here for us? Gently place her in the video for us. You have to be no, you got to be gentle with Lorraine. And in the meantime, I was when I was running back to my chair, my pants, which are ripped, got stuck underneath my wheel and then tore even more. So I'm really excited about that. So I guess they're trying to... What?
Your pant leg?
Well, yeah, because it was already ripped at the bottom.
Oh, then you can turn them into shorts.
Yeah, jorts. No, you're not allowed to wear jorts. So I don't really want to click on Lorraine's thing because I don't know if that will take me away from the page, but I would try to bring her in here myself, but I don't know how. Anyway.
Can't drag her in there?
Oh, I think she just joined. So somebody's got to find her in this list and wherever she's at, throw her on. But in the meantime, let's see if there's any questions until Lorraine comes on here. I see that. Well, this is a good question. There's one. With winter upon us, what motivates you to shoot on gray, dreary days? Are these good days to practice black and white shooting? Absolutely. There's nothing better than shooting on gray, overcast days in my mind. Why? Because it's like a big-ass softbox. The sky turns into one big, huge softbox. The light just pops because it's being filtered, and you get some awesome, thick contrast possibilities when you are out there shooting with that. Go ahead, Ed.
I completely agree. I mean, there's nothing better than a giant diffused sky. And, it might not be the best day for portraits unless you're like popping a flash. But if you're a landscape photographer, if you're in an urban environment, you can get beautiful stuff. If you're in the countryside, you can get beautiful stuff. You can do really great long exposures with that. Get out there and do it.
Yep. All right. Next question. When you or other professional photographers do a shoot, how much usable material do you come away with? Being an amateur photographer, I only get about half of my shots that are usable. Is this normal, or do you guys have a lot of material that you don't use from a shoot? I'll cite an example back from, hey, there's Lorraine down here at the bottom. I will cite an example as I drag Lorraine into the here. When I started shooting the flyers, I was shooting 8 to 10 rolls a game I was shooting 8 to 10 rolls a game and getting no more than like 20 usable pictures. And that was terrible. But by the second year of shooting, I was down to shooting 2.5 rolls a game, and just about every shot was usable. And when I say usable, the exposure's right on, the focus is good, and on occasion you miss because somebody goes in front of you. Nowadays, when we're shooting, you shoot a hell of a lot more, and yeah, you shoot a lot more, but you still should be coming out with a lot of good, usable images. But half sounds pretty good. Half isn't bad at all.
No, that's a pretty good rate, actually. And it really depends on the shoot. I mean, if you're shooting an event where the lighting is constantly changing, and you're going from indoors to outdoors, and you're going from one room to another room, it's a lot more difficult, to control your lighting and control your shots on the fly if there's a lot of action going on there. And yeah, you might have, a higher percentage of shots that you're not going to be able to keep. But, when you're in a setting where you have more control over things, once you get your lighting nailed, I mean, It's just a matter of waiting for it. And Jared and I both, we've talked about this. We've sat down next to photographers, and they just hit that motor drive every time they hit the shutter. It's like, and they're just, I can't even imagine what that would be like to go back to my computer and look at 9 or 10 sequential frames of every shot. Both of us, we like to just do the single shot thing. And it doesn't mean that we're just going to take one shot of it, but it's like you want to wait for it. You want to wait for, for the action or for the moment or for the expression. And, it's a different style. So I would say that, the more honed you get at doing this, the less non-keepers you'll have.
That's true. So I will try to grab Lorraine here again and throw her up into here, and let's see if it comes on this time. It came in as gray. It's still gray. Don't know why. But we'll put our technicians on it right away. Since this is the winter now, yes. Will you do any tips on taking photos of snow shots and Christmas lights? I'm sure we will, but I don't have a Christmas tree, and I don't think Adam has a Christmas tree either. No. I'll do some Hanukkah lights.
Bush. The Hanukkah bush this year is smaller than usual.
Yeah, the Hanukkah bush is small when you live in a small New York apartment. I'm going to be shooting.
So it's like a bonsai.
It's like what?
It's like a little miniature juniper, like a bonsai. It's like
Yeah, I'm sure we'll get to. I'm sure we'll get to some different techniques, and don't forget that people watch from all around the world. So it's summer in some other places, and it's winter around here. How do you guys feel about do-it-yourself lighting modifiers? Hey, if you have the time and you can make something pretty simply, go ahead and go for it. But remember that your time is valuable, and if it takes you 4 weeks to make a lighting modifier that you could have bought for like $50, then I probably would have spent the $50 to do it.
I mean, here's the thing. Like, I saw a guy, and he took like a bundt cake dish, and he made a beauty dish out of it. And
bundt cake.
The shots came out. Yes, bundt cake. But the shots were great. And, he went to the hardware store, and, I mean, he might have spent maybe $10 in materials. Now, granted, a beauty dish is not a cheap item, and I think he did pretty well. And there's also other things where it's like, let's say you wanted a gigantic diffused light panel. I mean, you could basically just take, a wood frame and hang a white sheet on it. So there's a lot of ways that you can be really super creative without having to spend huge money. But I agree with you, Jared. It's like if you're going to lose an entire day building something that could just cost you $20, $50, sometimes you have to wonder about what your time's worth.
That definitely is true. Jonathan's still up in there. I'm looking up. All right, let's grab this guy. Who are we throwing in here while we are... Wait, what happened? I think I threw him up in there.
What did you get?
Let me try again. Add to the SpreeCast. There we go.
Okay,
Norm. You're up, Norm. What's going on?
Hey, how you guys doing?
We're doing good.
Not much. Just enjoying your show here. I love all the stuff you do, Jared. It's real entertaining and helpful to most.
Thank you.
Been taking pictures for a long time, and one of the questions I asked was wearing glasses. Now that I'm getting older and wearing glasses, I just shot my daughter's wedding. I struggle with wearing glasses, taking them on and off. How do you deal with that?
Very simple. I don't wear glasses when I shoot. I've never worn glasses when I started, and then when I did get glasses, I take them off. Now, I'm sure, are your eyes really, really bad when you take your glasses off?
As far as using the camera settings and making the settings of the camera, yeah, I struggle. I need to put them on.
Go ahead, Ed.
So Norm, I would just say just get one of those lanyards and keep your glasses around your neck. And when you have to look at your settings, just pop them over here, check your settings, pull them right back down, let them hang, and then go back to your shot. Number two is, do what both Jared and I do, is we have the autofocus beep set. Which is really good because then you don't necessarily have to second guess, particularly when you're shooting, something where they're like an event or something, you're not second guessing your focus.
Yeah, and there are some companies out there that make frames.
Yeah, I'm old school.
What's that?
I'm old school. I grew up with before the autofocus, you know what I mean? And when you actually had to look through the viewfinder and focus on a subject. and I struggle a little bit with it, but
Sure.
That's the things to hang the glasses may be a good idea for me.
Yeah, so definitely try that out.
I mean, I keep them in my shirt pocket, or top of the head. Boom, bring it down, look at the camera. Just don't let that be a limitation. It's an easy fix.
Yep. All right, Norm. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you guys.
There's also there are some companies that make frames that literally swivel out of the way. You can look really weird wearing them, but they do have them. What is your least favorite part of being a photographer? Yeah, there's some. If we could just shoot, and have somebody take care of the business, the collecting the paychecks, the doing the behind the scenes stuff. As a photographer, you can't just go shoot and not worry about anything else, because it's your job to send out the bills, to collect the bills, to do your paperwork, to do the editing, to do everything. So the least favorite part is dealing with the BS of certain things. If I could just shoot all day long, I'd be happy.
It's the same thing with being in in a rock band. It's like you spend so much time doing such boring stuff, whether it's traveling or going in between gigs or rehearsals, or putting labels on mailers or whatever the case may be, and you just do it. So that's I'd say it's not the most favorite part, but it's probably the least glamorous part.
Yeah, keep going. I got an email. Did Norm have another question? I didn't grab Norm back on. Did we grab Norm back on?
I can ask questions all day if you want.
Go ahead, ask another one. Well, I'm sending Lorraine's information. I'm not going to put her phone number on the screen over to Greg.
Quick question. You were talking about flash diffusers. I've been using the Gary Fong. You familiar with him and his diffusers? What do you think about them?
Absolutely not. Never heard of them. We're not big.
I had the Gary Fong for a little while, and I don't know. I couldn't get anything I liked out of it. I don't know. I think that Jared's got an answer here.
Pick me. I think it becomes a crutch. People think that they need to have the Gary Fong and the latest greatest accessory in order to get great flash photos. What threw me off when I first saw the Gary Fong thing was that he put that, it looks like a diaphragm on top, and it was a color diaphragm. And the whole thing with a color diaphragm, it's like it's messing with it was a warm thing. Why don't you just change your white balance to flash instead of worrying about this warm diffuser?
It's like the equivalent of a CTO gel. He was putting, he has that orange or that amber kind of cap that sits on there. And I don't know, man. Whatever. I don't want to.
Yeah, so I'm not a huge fan of. I know Richie Myers used them, and he's not a big fan. And then on the other side, you could basically take a soup container from the Chinese restaurant, paint it black or clear, and just put it on top of your flash, and you're ready to go. Peter, what's going on?
The other thing, just one last thing. The other thing I've seen too is, the Joy dishwasher detergent.
Yeah,
I've seen guys that just kind of empty those out, cut them, and then stick those on top as a diffuser as well.
Sure.
Anyway, hey Peter.
How's it going?
Good.
I had one quick question. Next year, I'm planning to upgrade my glass. I'm definitely getting a 24-70, but I don't know. I want to get a 7200 as well, but I don't know if I should get the VR1 or the VR2. How do they stack up against each other?
What body are you on?
Good question.
D90.
Okay. If you were to say that you were on a full frame camera, then I'd say the VR2 would be hands down it is better, but when you're shooting on a DX camera, that 70-200 version 1 is incredible. There was a thing with that lens where it vignettes a little bit, which didn't really bother me, but there is a sharpness difference between the 70-200 VR1 and the VR2. Will it be hugely noticeable? Probably not. So if you can find yourself a VR1 at a very good price, I would snap it up.
Yeah, I've been looking between here in Richmond, DC, and Raleigh, and they pop up constantly.
And one lens that I mentioned before, I know it's a 10 or so year old lens, but that Nikkor 80-200 2.8, is a fantastic lens, and I'm not talking the AFS version. Like that's pretty expensive, but the 2.8 80-200, it's really lightweight, and I've seen them go for really cheap money, and they're incredibly sharp and would do pretty nicely on your D90.
Yeah, the 2.8, the D. With the aperture ring. Yeah, I've seen some of those pop up as well. They don't come up as frequently though.
What's that?
I said I don't really see them come up as frequently though.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people kind of hold on to them as like a backup lens. I had that lens and I loved it. And granted, like Jared said, it's not quite as sharp, it's not quite as fast, but it's a great lens for the money.
Excellent. Yep. Thank you so much.
All right, Peter. Good luck, man. Cool. Have fun.
Thanks, man. I'll hit you up on Facebook.
Cool. Thank you. All right, so we'll see. We'll figure out if we can get Lorray on here. If not, then I'm picking a winner. I'll pick a winner of the BlackRapid strap and all of that good stuff. Let's see what else we have in here. Any tips on focus setting when shooting low-angle portraits? I shoot I'm assuming that's a D7000, and find that it misses a lot when I try to get... I've noticed that the D7000 misses as well. It depends on what lens you're using, and a lot depends on lighting. If there's a strong backlight and you're shooting into light, your autofocus is going to have trouble locking on. It's going to have trouble finding what you're looking to focus on because there's so much distractive light coming in from the back. I don't think your low angle should really affect how your focusing is. Just lock in on the face if you can. Good?
Agreed.
That was it?
Agree.
You just straight up agree with me?
I straight up agree with you, Jared.
Well, thank you.
Not always, but in this case, I do.
Thank you for straight up agreeing with me. Okay.
What else we got here?
I think we're getting the please wrap up sign, and I'll explain to Adam why after this. So basically, I said we're going to give away we'll give away an AdoramaPix book. Why don't I just go through this Twitter thing real quick? Or should I go through after the fact and just announce a winner, or just pick one randomly right now, Ad? Randomly right now probably sounds better, right?
I like that idea. All
right, so you answer... Throw up one more question for me, Colin, and I'll go through here and find a winner here. I almost picked somebody that's won many times before, so I'm not going to do that. Let's see, randomly.
What do you guys think? Sony SLT cameras worth a buy, or should I stick to older models? I unfortunately don't really know much about the new Sony cameras, so unless Jared has something to say about it, I unfortunately don't really know enough about them to comment.
I don't know if they're like the J1 or not the J1, but I don't know. If you're a professional or whatnot, I wouldn't look to use them as a professional thing. But here, I picked a Twitter winner. I'm popping that in there. Let me leave a comment so I can pop it up onto the screen here. There, this guy, comment and question. Ooh, I have to hit submit. Submit, and then Colin, can you grab my question and throw it up on, or the person's name and throw them up on the screen for me? And that will tell you who the winner is. It's Joe DeSario, or Joe DeSaro. Joe DeSaro, he's winning something. I'll contact you via your Twitter name and all of that stuff. So we should kind of pick a winner here. We should pick a winner of the BlackRapid strap. And I guess, Lorray, the video, something was going on over there. It wasn't working. So why don't we see if that guy is still on? Is he still on up here? I want to pick somebody. Go ahead, Jared. Have you tested many lenses? If you could only pick one lens, what would it be? If I had to stick to one lens for everything, I'd probably venture to say a 24-70 that was sharp, because I could do portraits with it and I could do ultra wide angles as well.
Yep. That's kind of like right there in the really versatile range.
Let me see if anybody is on camera here, because we got to get wrapping up. Where's the guy from Nashville? Is he still in here? What was his name? Guy from Nashville. You still have a camera? You still have your camera up here? If he comes back on, his name was Gil or something. I don't know. Mario, what's going on? You got a question?
Yeah. Hello.
Hello.
I learned a lot from you guys, and I have the question. You see, I'm from the Netherlands, and my English is not that good, but I want to know how to do the metering. You see, I know the exposure triangle, like my pocket bag, and I like to shoot in aperture priority, and I always know when I, for example, do bird shows where I shoot eagles and this kind of stuff, I'm going to pump up the ISO when I need a higher shutter speed, because I usually want to shoot the birds with an f-stop of 5.6, and to get a higher shutter speed I just use the higher ISO if needed. But what I don't work or what I don't know exactly is spot metering or partial metering and this kind of stuff. How does this fit into this exposure triangle?
All right. You got any of that, or you want me to take that, Ad?
You started off.
All right, Mario.
You did that whole thing.
Yeah, Mario.
You understood me?
What was that, Mario?
You could understand what I was trying to say?
Yeah. I'm gonna throw you out of here so that Adam and I can talk. Not throw you out in a bad way. I'm gonna answer your question now because we're gonna move on. We're almost ready to wrap up, and I'm gonna answer it. So just hang on here and watch. Cool?
Okay.
Okay, so the simple thing, spot metering, where is it used for? If he's doing nature, you're going to spot meter for the underside of the bird because you want to have some detail left in there. So spot metering is very important when you've got strong backlight, like a bird flying in a sky. You want to focus in and meter the bird. So you're going to get a meter reading, spot on the bird. Then I'd say switch to manual to get your exposure locked in, because if the light isn't changing too much, then you don't have to worry too much about your exposure changing. So spot metering for shooting nature and birds like that would be the right thing to use. How does it fit into the triangle? It's just, I mean, that's a hard one to answer in a short time, because your triangle is...
I would say that your answer kind of satisfies the question, is that in a situation like that, in a heavily backlit situation, you're going to want a spot meter, particularly for the underside of the bird. I think that's a great answer to something like that. And it sounds like he's got his settings, pretty well locked in, and he understands them. So
sure.
In that case, I would say spot metering.
Yeah.
As opposed to matrix.
Okay. You're welcome from the UK. So I want to pick a winner. I'll pick the winner because I think there were some issues with getting onto the camera. So, Adam, would you be all right with me picking a winner?
Oh, please do. I know you like it so much.
I like picking a winner. I'm going to have to go back and find his name, but why don't we give it to the guy from Nashville, the kid from Nashville in college, because we know that college students always need a little help, and the BlackRapid would be good for him, especially for shooting for shows, and then he can not worry about grabbing the right camera and stuff like that, because he'll always grab the BlackRapid strap. So I'll go back and find his name and contact him, and I think that's fair enough. I think he would be very, very good, a very good recipient of that one. Yeah, it was Gil. Yep, his last name was Gil, and I can watch it back on SpreeCast after we're done. And so congratulations, Mr. Gill from Nashville. We'll find you and get you a strap sent out. So next time we'll try to get Lorray in here. Hopefully we can get those camera things worked out. Adam, thank you very much for joining us. And everybody, thank you for trying out this first SpreeCast. Feel free to leave us some comments in Facebook or wherever how you think this went. SpreeCast is still in beta here, so they're still working out some kinks, if there were any kinks, and we're still figuring it out as we are new to using it as well. Adam, you want to add anything?
No, I just want to say thanks to everybody for participating. Thanks for all your questions. Thanks for all your support. And I'm definitely looking forward to doing this again.
Yeah, we'll work out all the kinks and try to move it along as we do more and more SpreeCasts. We'll let you know when they are. You can friend the channel, which I believe it's FroKnowsPhoto is the channel that we chose. And that is about it. So you guys, thank you all very much for being here and helping us out and working through this with us. Adam, thank you for joining.
Thank you, Jared.
Colin, Greg, you guys, thank you for your help over there. And great questions, everybody. And we will be back in the future with more. So thanks for watching. And that is about it. Jared Polin, FroKnowsPhoto.com. See ya.